Hello friends, welcome to my channel Unjust Indian. To watch all my videos, kindly subscribe my channel and hit the bell button. The topic we are going to discuss today is the coming UP Assembly elections in 2027. Why we are discussing it so early? And the analysis of the UP election will only bring out what is going to happen in the 2029 Assembly elections. You may ask, what is the reason to make such an analysis of UP elections when they are due only next year, that is in 2027? The reason is Uttar Pradesh is the bedrock on which BJP's the past 12 years rule has been built, and the large number of seats they got, especially in 2014 and 2019 from Uttar Pradesh, resulted in them getting resounding victories and forming a government of their own in the center. Now, Akhilesh Yadav was able to turn the tables, I would say, in 2024, and he was able to get 43 out of the 80 seats, which was a big blow for the BJP, and that, in my opinion, was the major reason for BJP not being able to get a majority of its own in the Lok Sabha. Now, the same Uttar Pradesh, which prevented the BJP from getting a majority on its own in the center, is having its assembly elections in 2027. Therefore, it is very important for the opposition as well as the BJP to get to power in Uttar Pradesh with a majority of their own. Now, there are two major formations now. One led by Akhilesh Yadav and another led by the BJP. Mayawati, who was once a very dominant player, who was even a chief minister of the Uttar Pradesh at one time, has now significantly lost ground, and she does not command the position that she once held. But she can be called a vote katwa, as you say in North India, and the vote she cuts may decide who will come out the winner in the 2027 Assembly elections. Now, the other facet of Uttar Pradesh that many people conveniently forget is, even though Bihar is the bastion of the social justice Mandalian politics, Uttar Pradesh also has a long history of Mandalian politics. Now, with this in mind, we should analyze the caste demographics or the class demographics of the Uttar Pradesh. In Uttar Pradesh, the OBCs form 41% of the population, the Dalits form 21% of the population, the higher general caste and upper caste, as you call, form 19% of the population, and there is a very significant 19% Muslim population in Uttar Pradesh. Now, of these classes, among the backward classes, the Yadavs command the number one position. They comprise around 10% of the state population. The Kurmis follow closely behind. They comprise around 9 to 10% of the population. And among the Dalits, Mayawati's caste, Jatavs constitute around 10 to 12% of the state population, which makes them singularly the largest caste in the Uttar Pradesh state. Among the higher castes, the Brahmins occupy the top position, having around 8 to 10% of the population. So this is the caste composition, and the Muslims form the rest of 19%. Now, this caste composition is not uniform throughout UP. In Western UP, the Muslims and Jats command, along with the Gujars, command a higher vote percentage, and their vote is crucial for winning Western UP. In Eastern UP, the Rajbars and the Yadavs here command a huge chunk of vote, and their vote counts as the major force to win Eastern UP. Therefore, I wouldn't say there is a uniform distribution of any caste or the Muslims along any particular region. Each region has its own caste demographics. Now, if you go back in Uttar Pradesh politics, earlier it used to be Janata Party and the Congress. That era now no longer holds good. And it was during this Janata era, during the late 70s, that the Mandalian backward politics also came up in Uttar Pradesh. And it is through this politics that Mulayam Singh Yadav grew up. And Mulayam Singh Yadav formed a party called Samajwadi Party. After then the original Janata Party was split into so many factions. In the 1990s, I think he formed the Samajwadi Party. And his initial slogan was MY, that is Muslim Yadav. The one thing that Uttar Pradesh had was there were three or four combinations at that time. One was the SP led by Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav. Then the other was the BJP led by, at that time, by Kalyan Singh. And the third was BSP led by Mayawati and Kanshiram at that time. And Congress also commanded little bit of votes. So there were really speaking four fronts or four bigger parties. So what happened was, even a vote percentage of 20-30% was enough to give you enough seats to form a government. Therefore, when Mulayam Singh Yadav initially formed the party, MY vote, that MY vote combined to around 20-30% of the population. And although one cannot say that he will get complete all the 30% of the state's electorate in your favor from those two communities, a substantial chunk of them voted for him, so that always gave him a 20-24% vote bank with the Yadavs and the Muslims. So he was so popular that Muslims used to call him Maulana Mulayam Allah. He was so popular among the Muslims. Therefore, that vote along with votes from other communities, a little bit here and a little bit there, was able to propel him to power, or at least make him a very dominant force in the Uttar Pradesh politics. Now, at that time, you have to take into account that Kanshiram and Mayawati were also a bigger force, and they commanded most, even though she was a Jatav and other castes in the scheduled caste category, most of them looked up to her. So, since they compromised 21% of the population, they also had to get a little bit of Muslim vote and little bit of other vote and this vote to come to power. And since the BJP at that time commanded almost the entire upper caste vote along with some other votes, BJP was also a dominant force. Congress at that time had a pretty decent vote share. But over the time, what happened was, now especially around 2014-13, Mayawati started to wane and Congress started to lose its position of preeminence. Now the four-front fight has virtually diminished to two-front fight. Now Mayawati has lost votes left, right and center. She is no more the power she used to be, but she still commands a lot of respect in her own caste, that is the Jatav community, and still, in my opinion, commands around 10-11% of votes. But she has lost around 18-20% of her votes. It is the votes that have gone away from Mayawati that is now deciding who will win and who will lose. Now, BJP, after realizing that the forward caste vote or the general category vote alone is not sufficient to win an election, started viewing other backward classes by saying that Samajwadi party is only a MY party, that is a Muslim and Yadav party, you have no role there. And initially, when the other backward class also felt the same, many of them moved back, many of them felt compelled to move to BJP. Now Mulayam Singh Yadav in his lifetime did nothing, virtually nothing to prevent this movement of other backward classes to the BJP. Now, what happened then was, the BJP was able to grow exponentially because other backward classes felt alienated from USP. And to add further woes to his problems, there was some lawlessness during Mulayam Singh Yadav's regime also. But when Akhilesh Yadav took over, he realized that this MI vote is not enough. The image of the party is also not clean. So it has to be cleaned up. So it has taken him around 78 years, or I would say around 10 to 12 years to clean up that image. And he also cozied up to other backward classes, because you should know that SP, the Samajwadi party, by its nature is not a casteist party. It's a Mandalian party. So the backward classes should naturally feel more inclined and more attracted towards a Mandalian party like SP than BJP, which is a general caste party. But why the opposite happened? Because of the short-sighted view of Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav restricting himself only to MY. But Akhilesh Yadav really developed this party along the lines of the Mandalian politics, projecting himself not as a Yadav leader, but as a leader of the other backward classes. And the other backward classes, seeing him in action and in reality, after seeing his type of leadership, they realized that this man is not his father, is not a spitting image of his father, and he is willing to accommodate us also. Therefore, some of them started moving back to the SP because they felt that ideologically the SP is more inclined to the other backward classes than the BJP, which is basically a Savarna party. Now Mayawati also loses power. This process slowly but steadily happened. Initially it was not quick, but now what the 2024 Lok Sabha elections show to the world was there has been a drastic movement of the backward classes from BJP to SP. Now Akhilesh Yadav, what he has to do is, he has to give more confidence to the backward classes people, saying that I am not only a Yadav leader, I belong to all of you. He has to project himself not as a leader of Yadavs or of some particular castes of few sections of the backward class. He has to project himself as the leader of the backward classes who have 41% who comprise 41% of the total electorate. Now, if he is able to get a substantial portion of the Muslim votes along with him, then he is certain to win these elections. Now, what BJP will try to do, what BJP is trying to do now is, BJP has projected and BJP is having Mr. Yogi Adityanath as the CM. And it will nearly be impossible for anyone to pick someone else as CM when Yogi Adityanath himself is around. In other words, if I have to put it, whether he will be a CM candidate or not will not be decided by the central command anymore. It will be decided by Yogi Adityanath himself, because he has grown to such an extent that UP BJP is now being identified as Yogi Adityanath BJP. Now, Yogi Adityanath himself is a Thakur. So, what Akhilesh Yadav has beautifully done in political terms is, he has been able to show that Yogi Adityanath being a Thakur, BJP is now being controlled by Thakurs and other forward caste people. Therefore, you please identify myself, even though I may be Yadav, I am also other backward class people. Just like Yogi Adityanath is only a Thakur, he identifies himself with the general category, all the other general category. Myself may be a Yadav, but I identify myself with all the backward classes people. Therefore, because by his nature, his soft nature, and because by the activities done by him, and by dissociating himself from the earlier people who brought such a big disrepute to the SP government, he has clearly positioned himself as a savior, as a leader of the backward classes, and he also has a good reputation which his father never had. Now, the backward classes vote, he will get a commanding vote. Now, what the BJP has done to cut himself from the Muslim communities, virtually does it everywhere. Just set up the AIMM, that is Asaduddin Owaisi's party. Now, you know that one of the reasons for RJD's loss in Bihar was also the substantial number of Muslim votes and the seats that the AIMM was able to get at the expense of the RJD. Now, BJP is trying that in UP with the same AIMM whom I brand as BJP's B team, and they will separate the Muslim vote to some extent. Whether they will do it to the extent they did in Bihar, I don't know, but they will certainly do it to some extent in the Muslim communities. Therefore, Akhilesh has to take steps and to also have to look for alternate vote basis if he loses around 5 to 6% of the Muslim vote to MIM. But Akhilesh has worked wonderfully well by making himself as a person approachable to all the backward communities, and being the leader of the #1 backward community in the state. He projects himself as saying, I may be Yadav, my party may be, my caste may be the #1 caste in UP, but I consider myself not only as an Yadav, but as another backward classes. This he has done beautifully well. Now, coming back to BJP, now BJP, because of so many years of anti-incumbency, it's also facing certain glut there. And the Hindutva card, which was able to get it a large chunk of votes from even the backward classes, Dalits and everybody, just for the fact that they consider themselves more a Hindu than a backward class person or a scheduled caste person, has also dried up. The Hindutva agenda, which drove them to power, has also dried up now. You have to note my words. Unless something dramatic happens between now and the 2027 UP State Assembly elections, situation will remain the same. Therefore, there's a greater possibility that something will happen which may lead to the solidification, or even to say some extent unity of a particular community, or the unity of backward classes and Dalits in the name of Hinduism. This happened in 2017 UP Saharanpur riots. Something similar could happen in future also. Therefore, the ground is now set for Akhilesh. One thing he always has to do is he has to deal firmly with Congress. Don't give them 100 or 110 seats that they ask. If you are going to give them at the maximum out of the 402 seats, please give them around 60 to 80. That is the maximum you have to give. Wherever it is possible, bring in more allies. Bring in more backward classes allies. And also, one thing I would like Akhilesh Yadav to do is, he should make a promise, if I come to the power, this and this ministry, these and these ministries will be given to these castes or these backward classes, and I will also make this much deputy CMs from this much backward classes, and I will also give that deputy CM to a Dalit. So these sort of promises before elections will win you votes. What you do after election will not bring you any vote. Therefore, if you are looking for votes of a particular community, give them the promise beforehand and fulfill that once you come to power. There's no use saying that once I come to power, I will give a deputy CM to a Dalit. But say that in your agenda itself. I'm going to name 4 deputy CMs. One of them will be a Dalit. One of them will be from this community. One of them will be from that community. One of them will be from that community. It may look casteist, but that way you are giving confidence to that particular community. Yes, we will be represented, not as mere ministers or something. We will be given deputy chief ministers. Therefore, our caste and our community will be represented. And unlike his father, he is heeding to us. That way, even before elections, you will be able to sway a large section of that particular community to your favor and get a mandate in your favor. And the first and the foremost thing I've always told you is, deal with Congress carefully. The extra 20 or 30 seats you will reduce from the Congress kitty. You can give it to some other party and expand your support base. That is what Akhilesh should do. I'm pretty optimistic that from this moment, with so much disgruntlement on the ground in UP against the Yogi Adityanath government, and as well as the genial nature of Mr. Akhilesh Yadav and his image, I think it is an election for Akhilesh Yadav to lose. And if he loses that from this position, it means it will cast doubt about his leadership. I really hope that he puts his best foot forward and wins the UP election, so that in the biggest state in the Indian polity, the state which has given almost all the prime ministers other than the last 2 prime ministers to this country, stays with the opposition and with Akhilesh Yadav. Let's meet again.